Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting. My name is Carl the Cobra Froch, former unified super middleweight world boxing champion and International Boxing Hall of Famer. This episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino, and today I am joined by my very good friend Tony the Bomber Bellew. So how are you, Tony? You all right, mate?
I'm all right, mate. Busy as ever, working, getting stuff done, and yeah, that's about it. So talk to me, what's going on? You've been busy.
Yeah, I've been a little bit busy, just steady. I've been away with the kids over Christmas and New Year, had a good time, and been getting stuck into the channel. You've seen me out in Saudi Arabia. Everyone was surprised when they saw my sit down with Turkey Al Sheikh. That was good fun. Yeah, so it's been great, mate. For those who don't know, how far back do we go? Because obviously I've been retired since 2014, and you was retired a year or two after that. But did we have was it 3 or 4 years at the EIS sparring? Or was it just 2 or 3?
No, it was. It was about, well, I retired in 2018. So, end of 2018. Let me think.
Yeah, but how long was we sparring for before my last fight?
Well, I was your main sparring partner for the first ward fight.
Oh, really? As far back as that?
Yeah. Then I was with you for the Kessler one.
That goes quick, doesn't it, that? And I'll tell you what, mate, them spars we had, which we've already talked about, obviously, I thought you dropped me with the right hand, but you saying it was the left hook.
I'm not saying nothing. You shouldn't never talk about sparring stories.
I know, but we've finished that. We've retired now, so I don't mind admitting that I got a bomb detonated by the Bellew straight on the very limb. But I climbed off the canvas, and you know, my only regret from them spars, we didn't get them on footage, and it was recorded on the cameras in the EIS, because there's cameras all over that place.
I know.
We could have saved some of that.
Rob used to always talk about it, but I love Rob McCracken, an absolutely brilliant coach. I've got so much respect for Rob.
We've knocked 10 bells out of each other, but I always do wonder what would have happened if me and you would have actually had a fight with them little gloves on.
I couldn't have made the weight me to fight you. I was too vulnerable. At light heavyweight, I'm too vulnerable. I get stopped at light heavyweight. At cruiserweight, you've had it, but at light heavyweight,
no, you think you're slow at cruiserweight though. But if I'm a light heavy and you're a cruiser.
If you're a light heavy and I'm a cruiser, you aren't seeing round 6, lad.
You reckon?
It's too much.
Mate, listen, what you've got to realise is I've never been spread eagled.
You're not. You don't need to be. Someone's going to save you. Rob would save you. He wouldn't let it continue. But at light heavy, you crucify me, you'd eat me alive. I wouldn't keep you off, mate. I know I was strong when I was sparring you at light heavy, but you've got to understand, I'm always 12, 11, 12, 12, 13 stone. I'm never below 12, 10. At the minute I drop below 12, 12, 12, 11, I'm weak, mate. I'm done.
Crazy that is. You know, people that don't understand professional boxers making weight, how much them extra few pounds make a difference in terms of punch resistance.
People don't understand how professional you was, though. You lived in and around the weight, and you was a diligent professional. You lived an all year round lifestyle. You know, you're not someone who ballooned up in weight. For someone like me, I walk around at 15 stone, no problem at all. And then when I went to cruiserweight, I'm walking around at 16.5 stone. So it's just, you was always in and around the 5-10 pound mark, and that's proper diligent professionalism, mate. And you know, you've got to take your hat off to people like that. It shows when you're in fights, Carl. You don't need too long to prepare for fights. You could have took a fight on 6 weeks' notice and always been ready.
Yeah, true. Probably not mentally ready, because I know I like my 10 to 12 weeks. But I know what you're saying. I was on the weight pretty much 2 or 3 weeks into camp. I was hovering around 12.5, 12.6.
Because I come into camp and spar you, mate, and you was always in great shape, and Rob would always want me in. And after we sparred the first time, Rob wanted me as much as he possibly could. Anytime you were fighting an orthodox fighter, Rob would have me in. So yeah, good times, mate. Loads of good memories. But yeah, it strikes up a bond and a friendship for life.
You was exactly. I'd second that, mate. You was the only sparring partner out of many sparring partners, except for the big heavyweight, some of the big heavyweight amateurs I used to spar. He was the only sparring partner where I could really set about and unload my shots and come for you and try and really go for it. And that's why Rob loved it. And you could cope. I could put my shots together, back you up, put it on you, and you'd be like, "There you go, son. Have one of them back." And I'd be like, "Right, okay, get back in my box for a bit." But that's what made the spar so good.
Yeah, you know what, mate? I remember the first time I ever came up. That was that session that happened, and I just thought, I'd watched you and I knew you, the way you moved, and I've always studied fighters, and they have certain habits and they have certain patterns of movement, and I just thought, I wonder if he is going to do that with me, or will I change? And it didn't, mate. It went to the exact way I thought it was going to go. But you was physically strong, and that's what I'd never had. I'd been in the ring with light heavyweights, cruiserweights, heavyweights. I'd sparred with David A. bloody hell when I was just won an ABA title, so I knew about strength and power and explosiveness. But your physicality and strength, it was surprising for a super middleweight. I mean, there was no one ever around super middle who could physically compete with me. Where even when I was a light heavy, I had to get big light heavies or cruiserweights in for sparring. And as I say, coming to spar with yourself, it was a wealth of experience and knowledge, mate. It really was. It helped me massively. It really did.
Great for both of us, that sparring. Really good for me. I mean, from, you mentioned there, the Ward fight, then on from that, we were sparring, I mean, the Butte fight, then obviously Usyk Matt the Mark time, but then the Kessler rematch, and then 2 Groves fights. I mean, I don't think I sparred really much for the Groves rematch.
No, because I had cruiser, then Rob used to say to us, didn't he, you know, it's just, I said to Rob, I'd get as light as I could, but I could never get anywhere near the cruiserweight limit to spar you. So it was just, I think we sparred once when I was a cruiserweight, and Rob was just like, you're too big, Tom.
Too big, yeah, too big. But anyway, great days, mate, great sparring. And over a decade ago, and look how quick time moves.
It goes, mate.
But great to have you on anyway, and thanks for joining me. Always a pleasure. I saw you on, well, my kids actually saw you on, what is it? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the other day? You did well on that. My mum phoned me up, and my kids were like, oh, Tony's been on. I'm like, what's he on now? What's he been on? And you did all right, and you got some money back for charity, which was nice.
64 bags. So, yeah, I've done all right, mate. I'm happy. I can't complain.
No, it's good work, that is, mate. Good work. Do you second guess yourself, don't you? Because you was on about that one for tinnitus with the ears. You was like, I think I know what it is because my dad's got it. But, you know, under the pressure, do you second guess yourself?
It's proper frightening. It's scary, especially when you get to that stage. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice at all. Just, you know, if it was your own money, you're on it for yourself, you're just like, yeah, that's the answer, no problem at all. But when it's the kids' money, you just don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to be stupid and be naive. So I took my time as much as I could. I took too much time, to be honest. Jeremy Clarkson was fuming with me. But it was. I'm happy I done it, mate. It's one of them.
He's all right though, Clarkson. I like him. Out of all of them, I think he's a good one, isn't he?
He's all right, mate. He was sound.
But anyway, mate, I won't keep you. Time is pressed. So
let's go.
12 rounds with Tony Bellew, the Bomber. And this will be a mix of boxing and non-boxing. So, ding ding, round 1. How did you react when Everton equalised against Liverpool on Wednesday night?
Like an absolute maniac. Me and my 3 kids. I've got 4 kids, obviously, 4 boys, but 3 of them are coming to match with me. They're the 5-year-olds, too small and too young. We went absolutely nuts. Yeah,
well, listen, I've got into football a little bit more lately. Nottingham Forest are flying, actually, in the league, so we're doing Premier League. So we're doing all right, Forest, mate. We're about number 4.
Mate, how convenient you start supporting Forest again when they're absolutely flying. You fucking absolute charlatan. I cannot believe you are now a Forest fan again. You glorious bastard, Carl.
When I was boxing, because it's good to nick a few of the fans, but I'm enjoying the football. I enjoy taking Rocco down because the crowds are big now. It's good. Well, they've always had good crowds, Nottingham Forest, but no, we're doing well. FA Cup, it was a draw the other night, 2-2, then we got it on penalties.
You've got a quality side. You've got Wood up front, he's quality. Elanga's a top player. Gibbs White's another top player. You've got some quality all over the park, mate. You really have. So listen, I've got to give a massive amount of credit to your manager, mate, Nuno Espirito Santo. He is a fantastic manager who's doing a great job at Forest. And it just shows you when the manager is backed correctly what he can actually do. So well done to him.
Absolutely. I'll take that, mate. It's good for the city as well. Right, round 2. Do you think Tyson Fury stays retired? Yes or no? What do you reckon?
No.
No? Do you think he's just pissed off and has done a bit of a knee-jerk, right, I'm retired, I'm done?
I do think it's a knee-jerk reaction. Well, listen, anyone who announces retirement while sitting in a car on a phone, it's a knee-jerk reaction. I feel for him because probably what's been told to him has now been taken back. So from the outside looking in, it looks to me as if he's been told, listen, you're getting a 60-40 deal against AJ. And then he's lost and they've come back and gone, no, it's 50-50 now, and he's gone, fuck off. And that's what it from the outside looking in. That's what it looks like. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's definite, but that's what it looks like. And if I'm being totally honest, do either of them need the money? Not really. They're both worth hundreds of millions of pounds. But do they actually want to prove who is the best out of the two? I think that's why they'll end up fighting each other. Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's still a big fight, and I mean, there's nothing at stake, but except bragging rights. But
Pride.
Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, it's a big fight, isn't it? No matter what,
It's
whichever
huge,
way you
mate.
dissect it, people are going to want to watch that. I want to watch it. I mean, I'm not that interested now in fighters that have been beat, fighters at the end of the career, past the best, about finished. But if AJ and Fury jump in the ring, it's a fight you're going to get excited about. It's as simple as that, isn't it? So, and the money's going to be Turkey Al Sheikh's going to put the money up. So
It's
if he comes
astronomical.
with 100 million, then they're going to take it.
You know what, Carl? I mean, I'm not that big on this thing of if they've been beaten, they're washed up and done, because every great fighter loses at some stage.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The greatest fighter ever has lost for me. I mean, at prime, Roy Jones Jr. is the best fighter I've ever seen live. I think Muhammad Ali is the greatest man to ever put on boxing gloves for what he stood for and what he done for boxing. But you know, people like who go on, you know, you lose, you finish. It's a load of nonsense. I just think if the clamour and the draw is big enough, then the fight will happen. And that's the case with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. The draw and the clamour is big enough. It's a huge, huge fight. And no matter what happens, we'll always want to see it.
Absolutely. But when I say, I don't say finish, but past the best, at 36, 37, whatever they are, they're in the mid to late 30s. So there's not many left, is there? He's not going to come back and have 3 more fights. Fury. If he comes back, it'll be for 1 more. And AJ's about done.
If we're just brutally honest, the waiting around for each other. They're not knocking around looking for any other fight or anybody else. They basically just want to fight each other. They're the names, and they've got a point to prove. It's been going on for so long, and the last thing we want is the situation of Ricky Hatton Jr. with a Joe Calzaghe. I know they're at different ends of the spectrum, and I know they're at different times in the careers. Like the Joe Calzaghe new one, it's difficult because he's at the end of his career. But the Hatton and the Whittaker one, they're in the primes, and as Ricky says, I still put my head on the pillow at night and think, would I have beat him? And it's just they're not going to want to put their head on the pillow. Everyone's got an opinion. And everyone's entitled to an opinion. But it's only them two can settle it.
Yeah. It would be nice if they got it on, but it needs to happen sooner rather than later. Because obviously Tyson Fury goes big, doesn't he? When he gets all that extra weight around his love handles and his belly, he gets it off a bit, but he's finding it harder to manoeuvre around the ring, as we see with Usyk. Yeah. That Usyk, has he got a right to be pissed off about that Usyk fight, do you think? I mean, the right man won, didn't he?
In my opinion, yeah. I don't think he won either of the fights. I think he's pushed Usyk the hardest. I think he's pushed him all the way, but I just think Usyk was the clear winner. You'd have to look at the punch stats and look at the way the actual fight went. Did the fights go the way Tyson Fury wanted? Absolutely not, no. He was outpunched, he was pushed back, he was forced back in every round. He was bullied at times, he was dropped in the first fight. So did the fights go the way Tyson Fury wanted? Absolutely not, no. And that's how you have to judge these fights, Carl. You have to judge on the fighter goes in with a game plan, who follows through and who succeeds with their game plan better. Oleksandr Usyk succeeded with his game plan in both fights better.
Yeah, he had more success as well. Close fight. It was a very close fight, but he won. He won the fight for
100%.
Right, round 3. Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron. They're fighting again in a rematch after the controversial first one, which ended in a draw. Who do you think wins and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Do
you think it's a close fight based on what you see in the first time?
I think if you're matching them up with skill sets, it's not close at all. But then I think he underestimated them. I think Ben Whittaker's a brilliant fighter, by the way. And I think Liam Cameron is one ballsy kid. He's got bollocks, mate, the size of King Kong's. He really has. He's game. Very limited, but very, very game. And shows you how far heart can get you. For all the skills that Ben Whittaker has, it just... It looked to me from the outside looking in once again, kind of like the Andy Ruiz Anthony Joshua first fight, where he gets the fright and the shock of his life because he's still there after 5 or 6 rounds, and he's like, what is going on? And as fighters, we know that, you know, when you underestimate someone and you're in the ring with them, and then they start turning the screw on you and they start turning the corner, you're like, what's going on? And your mindset can't change. You're like, what is going on here? What am I doing? How is he even still here? It's not, you have to go for the next fight like AJ did against Ruiz. You can't reset your mindset in the middle of a fight. So if you underestimate him once, you aren't changing that mindset during the fight. You're going to have to go to the next fight. And I do think he'll right that wrong in the next fight. I really do. But he's got to be ready to go through hell, Carl. And that's the thing with Ben Whittaker. I think his talent is so high and so good. I'm just not sure he's cut out and made to be ready to go all out for 3 minutes of every round. I think he's a fighter who fights really well for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes a round, and then he likes to look good for the other minute and a half. If someone can put it on him and sustain and absorb what he's got, which is a lot, then I think in the second half of fights, in the second half of even rounds, he's switching off and he's losing them. So it spells for danger in the Cameron fight, but I'm going to go Ben Whittaker.
Ben Whittaker, yeah. Fair enough. I mean, you would expect Ben Whittaker to do the job, but based on the first one, you would have thought he'd have got it done. It's a good learning fight for him, wasn't it? But when it came on top, a lot of people said he looked for that way out and he used that as an excuse to quit. But he's giving him the rematch, so we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's took the rematch, and he could have probably swerved it, but the rematch.
That's what I give him credit for. I said that in the press. I give him massive credit. You really have. Listen, you've had close fights in your career, and you have them, and you're just like, we run them back or we do whatever. But I just think he could have avoided it if he really wanted to, and no one would have really batted an eyelid, because at the end of the day, it was a freak incident what happened. But at the end of the day, he's willing to right that wrong, and he's willing to run the gauntlet again. So fair play to him, mate. He didn't have to, and he is.
What do you make of it? Do you buy the fact that or the story that he's really damaged his ankle? Because he didn't stand up, did he, and try and walk it off, but he said he's injured, and he turned it in. Do you look at that and think he's made a big deal of that because it was coming on top? Would you actually give him the benefit of the doubt?
If I'm looking at it from a personal level, I just get up. I can't
just try and, because if you get up and fall back over...
I just get up. I just get up. But that's me, and not everyone's as stupid as me. Some people are a lot smarter and brighter and cleverer than me, and he played his card and he used it to his advantage. You know, you've probably got to look at it now. He's probably getting 10 times what he got for it for the first fight.
Yeah.
And is it any hard? Is it any harder of a fight the first time than the second time? It's not. It's the exact same fight. He's probably getting 5, 6, 10 times more than he is for the first fight. So you'll soon find out, is it a stroke of genius, or have you shown this kid your card? Have you showed him your card and now he's going to run all over you? Because if Liam Cameron is allowed to gather any kind of momentum early in this fight, Ben Whittaker's going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. Looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am. Definitely. Good fight.
Round number 4. We're getting there, slowly but surely. Oleksandr Usyk wants his last fight to be against Alex Pereira. Are you interested in that fight? And who do you think wins that one if it happens? I'm assuming it's a boxing match, by the way.
No mixed martial artist is going to step in a boxing ring and win. And especially with someone like Oleksandr Usyk, where he won't take it easy. He won't take him as a light touch, like Tyson Fury did against Francis Ngannou. He will go in there and he will absolutely obliterate him. So,
yeah, are you interested in that? Do you just think it's like, I'm not sure about that.
Not really, no.
In a boxing ring, then, do you just think?
No, not at all. I'm not interested. I'd rather see Oleksandr go in against... there's a few fights out there for him, but do I think he beats them all? Yeah, I've said this for a while. When you've shared the ring with him and you know how good someone is, Carl, his brain's on a different level. I've got a good boxing brain. It is another level. I've never seen a boxing brain like that, ever, in my life. I've never.
Usyk Pereira, are you saying Pereira ain't got a chance in the boxing ring?
No, not a chance in hell. No.
Yeah,
Pereira is a vicious striker with knees, elbows, legs, and hands as well. But his hands are not even the strongest part of his mixed martial arts game.
Yeah, I watched him spar the other day. He looks all right sparring, but he was in against the punch bag, and he was bolt rigid upright, no head movement, and just
you get
not
eaten
that
alive.
quick.
Listen, there's never been pound for pound physically a stronger fighter in mixed martial arts than Francis Ngannou. And we all seen what happened to him when he faced a fighter who took him seriously in Anthony Joshua.
Yeah. And is it absolutely no chance Usyk against Pereira in the cage? Is it just no chance?
Oh, no. Wow. Jesus Christ. No.
Isn't it mad
Anyone
that? I know it's a different
Carl,
discipline.
any fighter who gets in a cage, mate, has had it. Do you understand how these guys are experts in mixed martial arts?
Yeah.
That, mate, the minute you're on the floor, like, I can't. We have no chance as boxers, and I don't want to hear this nonsense and shite of lad, but I'll land that one shot. I only need one shot. I promise you, mate, they're getting your legs and they're gonna eat you alive. Like I've been in gyms, I've wrestled, I've been around mixed martial artists, I've been around lads who've been in the UFC. I've gone to the gym with them and I've had a little mess around with them. We have no chance. And I mean zero. Like as boxers going into a cage, we have no chance unless you really improve your wrestling to a really decent standard. You don't stand a chance in hell. He stands as much a chance in a boxing ring as Oleksandr Usyk stands in a cage, which is zero.
Right, fair enough. I watched Sean Strickland in that rematch the other night, and he stays on his feet quite a lot. And I was thinking, right, okay, he's on his feet, he's boxing, but then all of a sudden, I mean, he didn't throw many, but a kick will go in at the side of the head, and you just think, where the fuck did that come from? And then that's it then, isn't it, for the boxer? Game over, fight over.
It's horrible, mate. It's
kick at the side
just
of the face.
One of the greatest boxers we've ever seen in our generation era, James Toney. Just look what happened to him against Randy Couture. Now, James wasn't in great shape, and he was a bit of a pudding at the time, but he just got picked up, thrown on the floor, and beat up. And that was the nicest way to put it. If John Jones was to set about any boxing in a cage, you're done. John Jones is like the ultimate freak of all freaks. This guy's an animal. Yeah. I mean, no one's beaten John Jones in mixed martial arts. He is the best mixed martial artist in the world. But could he come over to boxing? And John Jones has good hands, by the way. Good hands, good elbows, good legs.
Hang on, what about Tom Aspinall against John Jones?
Oh.
Especially now as well, because he's a lot bigger than him as well, isn't he?
He is bigger than him, but you'd have to understand how the expertise of John Jones, mate, and how long he's been at it and how good he is. I actually think he's playing a game, John Jones. I actually think he's saying all this about Tom Aspinall, how much he doesn't want to face him, how much he rates him, how good he is, because he wants that money. He wants paying for it, when I actually think he's doing this as a plan, because he knows he's going to take the fight, and he wants the most he can absolutely get, because that is the last challenge to him in the heavyweight division. There is no one after John. There is no one after Tom Aspinall. Unless he goes in and say with Francis Ngannou.
Trying to get the
biggest amount of money. It's really smart by him. It's really smart by John Jones by saying, I don't want to face him. I'm not going to face him. I want to face Alex Pereira instead. It's really smart. It really is. Yeah. I see that he doesn't even entertain any talk of Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou, I think, is the ultimate matchup for any heavyweight in the world in mixed martial arts. The guy's an animal. Francis Ngannou made him in the world of mixed martial arts. He is possibly the strongest man in the world. I think he is probably the most dangerous man in the world. He is as good as John Jones is, as skilled and as brilliant as he is. I think Francis Ngannou in a cage, mate, is frightening.
Fair enough.
You walk in on him in bed with your beard, lad. You took him in. It's as simple as that.
Right, round 5. I think I know the answer to this one.
That's it.
Who was your boxing idol growing up?
I absolutely adored Riddick, Big Daddy Bow. I loved him.
Saying that before, but
I loved him.
Mike Tyson fan as well, weren't you? But
I adored Mike. I studied them all religiously, mate. Yeah. There's nothing that I don't know about them. I studied them. I know everything about them. Some of the fights, but I have, like I say, I idolised Nigel Benn. I loved him. I just loved them. Yeah. I loved fighters who but I loved skilled fighters, but I loved fighters who had a certain skill set but made it work for them, like Nigel Benn. I had so much admiration for him, because Nigel Benn was never going to be the greatest boxer, but the skill set he had, he was ferocious, he was powerful, he was explosive, he moved his head well, he got stuck right in, he didn't care what was coming back at him, and you've got to just admire that and take your hat off to them sometimes and go, do you know what? It's similar to yourself. You went in there, mate, and was willing to fight anyone and everyone. And you fought fighters who are quicker than you, more skillful than you. You fought fighters who are better boxers than you. But you've worked with your skill set to grind them down, beat them up and get rid of them. And that's what great fighters do. That's why you're in the Hall of Fame, because you made your skill set work for you. I've done it at similar levels, just not at your level that you went on to do. And as I say, when I talk about the likes of these people, you've got to admire them. You can't but anything but that way. So Roy Jones Jr. is my all-time. I think he's the greatest of all time in boxing terms, but I think the greatest man to ever put on boxing gloves is Muhammad Ali. One of the most ferocious fights I've ever seen in his prime was Mike Tyson. I've seen him live. The likes of bloody hell, Nigel Benn. There's so many, mate. As I said, Marvin Hagler's an absolute monster. Our prime Marvin Hagler is just an absolute savage. Tommy Hearns, that fabulous four is just from Hearns, Leonard, Duran, and Hagler. Just wow, the four kings.
So we're going for Big Daddy Bow, Riddick Bowe. I've actually got a really good picture of Riddick Bowe. I met him when I was in Canastota, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, as you know. But I've got a wicked picture of him. He walks around like he's got a weight on his shoulders, and his back's he's sort of limping over, and it's sad to see, really, because Bowe's fights with Holyfield,
the trilogy.
They had a trilogy, didn't they? Unbelievable. But no, great fighter, mate. Great pick. That's round 5. Round 6, ding ding. Who is your favourite current fighter to watch right now?
Tank Davis.
Yeah, Tank Davis. Gervonta Davis, the Tank. Yeah, what a fighter. Just exciting, isn't it?
He's just ruthless. He's ruthless.
He goes for it, doesn't he? That's a nice word to use, ruthless. Ruthless.
He's a killer, mate. He's a killer.
And who would you put him in with? He makes them come down, doesn't he? Who did he fight? It was Garcia, wasn't it? And Garcia came down a little bit in weight, didn't he?
There was not, but the similar weights. There was no big disparity between them.
Body shot, wasn't it? Because he's good, Garcia. I think he's a good fighter, a good puncher and that. And people will say, oh, yeah, but he took weight off to fight Tank Davis. Tank Davis made him drain himself. He's just better than
Gervonta Davis' strengths are... People underestimate his boxing ability. His IQ is absolutely fantastic. Look at how he places his shots. Look at the finishing punches that he finds. People miss that. They just go, he's so powerful. He's a knockout puncher. They don't see the cute things that he does. Watch the things that he does inside. Watch the things, how he prompts you. Look how he's looking for you to make mistakes. He sets traps. The punch that he drops Garcia with the first time, it's an amazing little set trap that he sets. The one that he gets Frank Martin with as well. The Rolly Romero one where he draws Rolly Romero in. It's crazy. He's happy to give away a few rounds here and there. He's happy to lose a few rounds. The Leo Santa Cruz one, he's just wearing him down. He hands it up. It's a completely different style. The way he beats Leo Santa Cruz and the way he beats Rolly Romero are two completely different styles. Yeah. The way he fights Ryan Garcia was a completely different style again. He can counter punch. He can go on front foot. He can go on the back foot. I just think it's a crying shame we don't see enough of him.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless studying him before you fight him because he can change it, can't he?
Yeah. He's a monster, mate.
To his style. But no, good pick, mate. Gervonta Davis is one of my favourites as well. Obviously, we know our boxing, so we know who to watch. Derek Chisora, your mate.
Yeah.
Who should he fight in his 50th and final fight? Should he be fighting? But if he does, which I think he's going to, who should he fight?
I'd love to see him have a swan song against... I'm trying to think. I want him to have a touch. I don't want to see him in a hard fight.
Well, I consider the touchers to be someone like Big Baby Miller, someone like him. Maybe
that would be really good for the build-up and stuff like that. But I don't think it would be a very good fight, if I'm being totally honest.
You wouldn't want to see him get hurt and get his head punched in, would you? That's the problem.
No, I like people are talking about him facing Josh, AJ. I don't want to see that.
I've said
I don't think Josh wants to do it.
Josh throws a good 1-2 down the middle, man.
Mate, I don't want to see that. I just
and
don't
it's
want
hard
to see
as
that.
well, AJ.
Oh, mate, I don't want to see that. It's a tough one. It really is because there's not many touches and not many slouches in the heavyweight division, and he's faced everyone and anyone.
And it's got to be a fight that people are going to be interested in as well.
Do you know what? If Dillian White beats Joe Joyce, I'd like to see him finish it off with Dillian.
Yeah, because Dillian's on the slide. He's over the hill, isn't he? Dillian as well. That's true, actually.
I think that makes sense. And it'd be a really good fight. And the two of them have got history, constantly calling Derek a donkey. and Del constantly ripping into him, and they have really good banter between them, and they're good people. I like the two of them, but I say Derek's my boy, so yeah, it's I wish he'd stop now, but he's not, and he deserves the 50th belt.
Dillian Whyte, I'll take that. Right, moving on, round 8. What was your favourite food to eat after a fight? Give the fans a little insight into your dietary requirements. What jumps
after
to
the
mind
fight's different, mate. I want to be a pig, so it's pizza. And I'm not even a big pizza fan, but pizza, steak.
Steak as well?
Yeah, just steak and pizza. Just things that you've missed in camp. Because when I'm in camp, I'm not eating as much red meat as I'd like. I'd have it maybe once a week at the most. And I'm eating foods.
It's good protein.
It is, but when you're making weight where I am, the red meat can stick on you and stay for a bit longer. It takes longer to digest. I'm more of a chicken and turkey person when I'm in camp, and I'm eating timed carbs. So I would have no carbohydrates after 2:00 in the afternoon.
Really?
So yeah, and literally unless I'm sparring in the night, I would only be having carbohydrates in the night, or if I'm running overnight, and I would never train overnight until fight week. So for me, I want loads of carbs, so pizza just made sense. I don't like cheese, I don't like tomato, but I love fucking pizza. I'm a weirdo.
Right, moving on. Round 9. Ding ding. Top 3 favourite British boxers of all time.
Oh wow!
I had this with Lennox Lewis the other week.
My favourite boxers. My favourite boxers or the best boxers.
The top 3 British boxers. Top 3. So your top 3.
Yeah, but the best or my favourite.
If
that's
you say
different.
top 3, you're not going to say favourite. You've got to say who's the top. So who you would consider to be the best that beat the best.
So the top 3, in my opinion, would be John Conte, Lennox Lewis, and Joe Calzaghe.
Conte, yeah, you know what? Last 25 years, John Conte, good shot. Calzaghe, yeah, fair enough. And Lewis. What order you got them in?
That's
you
hard.
got Lewis at 1? Or?
That's the hard part. That's the hard
But they're
part.
your top 3?
They're my top 3, yeah. It's hard where I'm placing them.
That's a good top 3.
You know what? I want to put Nassim Ahmed in there, but it's just what them fighters done and achieved. I mean, Nas changed the game. So, but that's what I'm saying. If you said me favourite fighters, then I would have said Nigel Benn, Nassim Hamed, and the third one. I've got loads of good British fighters, but the third one, do you know what I loved watching them fight? Jamie Moore was a brilliant fight to watch, and yourself. I just know I'm getting value for money. If I'm watching Hamed, Jamie Moore, yourself, Nassim Ahmed, Nigel, I know with Nassim Ahmed I'm being entertained. I know with Nigel Benn I'm getting absolute warfare. With yourself, I know I'm getting a warfare. The only thing different with you is I know by who you're going to face if they're going to be able to match up or not. So, like, if I can put 20 matches together for you and people go, they're really good fights, and I go, Carl just walks all over them. They can't keep them off. They're not going to be able to live at his pace. Whereas them same 20 fighters are going to give Nigel Benn problems because it's styles make fights. Yeah. But then there's some fighters that Nigel Benn might have knocked out that would have gave you hell. But then there's fighters you beat easy that would have gave Nigel Benn hell. Do you know what I mean? It's just styles make it. It's like Lucien Boutte would have gave Nigel Benn hell. I don't care what anyone says. He's a nightmare. He's slick. He's fast. You let him get on the front foot. He's dangerous. But then I think Gerald McLennan would have gave you hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Some fighter he was.
Oh, mate, he was an absolute killing machine.
Ben climbed out the floor, out the ring to bloody get up and stick. I still
think that's the greatest result of any Brit. Him defeating Gerald McLennan the way he did. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, you've got Lloyd Honegan against Don Curry, but I just mean for the way the odds were stacked against Nigel Benn, he was literally brought over here as a sacrificial lamb. Yeah. That's what Nigel Benn was to Gerald McLennan, and when he come over, mate,
what
he was so good.
Kirtland Lang against
against Duran, I know, but is that the Duran that we all knew, and is that the great Duran? Do you know what I mean? At least Lloyd Honegan beat a prime Don Curry, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas Roberto Duran, when you read the book about him, you never know what he was going to get, mate. And that crazy manager of his as well it was nuts, mate. I've read the books about them all over the years. They're amazing stories to read, but Yeah, when you come for excitement, I've got a certain bunch of fighters, but when you say who's the best, I don't think it can be denied.
If I'm honest, mate, I'm just glad you chucked my name in there somewhere. I was waiting and
It's
whistling,
got to
but
be,
it never
mate.
came.
You'd have to. I'll tell you something that you've got, and as I said, don't blow smoke, just tell it as it is. You've got the best resume of any British fighter, in my opinion.
There we go. Here
You
comes the
faced them
Bellew
all.
in form lot. Telling
No,
how
you,
it is.
you faced them all. No one can ever deny or dispute that. You faced them all. And I think you actually faced the best fighter of our era. People won't like this, but Andre Ward is the best fighter of our era. I think he's the hardest one to beat. Because people will say Floyd Mayweather, he's in the same era as Floyd Mayweather, stuff like that. But yeah, I get it with Floyd, but Floyd picked people when he wanted to pick them. There was reasons why Floyd never faced the likes of Antonio Margarito. There was reasons why he weren't facing Manny Pacquiao when he wanted to face. He picked them and marks when he did. Andre Ward went in tournaments, mate, where he was like there was no chance, and I knew about him. I knew about him for years ago, even when he beat the Russian in the Olympic Games. I knew about him then. And that Russian hadn't been beat for years, mate. The amateur he beat, his name evades me. But you faced them all, similar to him, and it's just one of them things. I don't think there's been a British fighter like it who's faced everyone and anyone. And let's also get it straight: you've travelled. You haven't had it all your own way in your hometown, and you got it good at the end of your career. You know, I think linking up with Eddie was a massive thing. They played out to make some massive, huge fights, and I think you were what's the word I'm looking for? You weren't not giving you flowers. You weren't appreciated.
I didn't get the
You
full
weren't
recognition
appreciated
when I was fighting.
earlier in your career.
No.
I don't think you was, mate. You know, for going in that,
TV.
Promotional TV, but you weren't appreciated, Carl. You know, you should never have been in the situations you were in. Now, I don't know your financial situations before the likes of Eddie and Matchroom, but I guarantee you should have been, mate. This whole country should have been massively behind you. Going in the Super 6 Series, defeating the fights you did. It was absolutely huge. You know, that Jermaine Taylor fight, people don't understand how good Jermaine Taylor was. Jermaine Taylor, mate, it was an unbelievable fighter. And I'm telling you, he was a monster. Sharp, fast, accurate. The wins over Bernard Hopkins, dethroned and defeated Bernard Hopkins in his absolute pomp.
Well, that was my first defence after beating Pascal, and that fight never really got... It got shown on British TV, but the day later, and it was adverts between each round. So that was missed, really, wasn't it? Which is
That's what I'm saying.
That fight's now picking up more momentum and getting more views now, 15 years later, more than that, than when I actually boxed.
And you took some serious shit that night.
I suppose.
That's what I'm saying, mate. And obviously that comes down to the likes of how well your promoter pushes you, how well the manager looks after you. And I think, as I said, I've got to give Eddie fair play. Once you went there, your two years you just helped boxing grow again in this country. A massive part of it. You know,
absolutely.
Going back to Wembley, first time in a long time someone had done it. And we all know how many was there, so don't even say it. Don't worry, we all know. But it's a moment in British boxing history that can never be forgotten, and you should be proud of yourself. You created that.
Absolutely. That's why I always talk about it, mate. I don't know if you've noticed.
I didn't know. I think there was 60 or 70,000 in there, you know, but I couldn't actually put a finger on the exact amount.
Don't make me say it. Right, round 10. We're in the championship rounds. Round 10. Thanks for them words, by the way, Tony. But you've given me my flowers a few times previously. But I know you understand boxing, and I appreciate what you say. But you don't deserve. You've not done bad yourself, mate. And
it's been lad. Could have been worse.
Exactly. And I love fighters with big fucking balls. Go in there and leave it all on the line, and that's what you've done a few times.
Thank you.
Right, true or false? Talking about scrapping still. Have you had a street fight? And if so, what happened? I mean, I think I know you've had a few street fights and had a few things, but have you had any proper, where you've actually had a proper street fight, where it's been give and take and you've been in the thick of it? Or was it all just a bit of altercations that get sorted out pretty quick? So I know you used to stand the door as well, didn't you?
Yeah, do you know what? I've had fights in the street, I've had fights working on nightclub doors, I've had fights in nightclubs, I've had fights in bars, I've had fights in the street. Yeah, I'm just a normal kid. I've had fights, every kid's had fights. I remember having a fight with someone once and I smashed his face in while he stabbed me in the head with a compass. So yeah.
Was that at school?
Yeah, just coming out of me last year at school, got expelled for doing too much damage. So yeah, it's
Did you say he stabbed you in the hand or the head?
the head. He stabbed me in the head 4 times with a compass in the side of my head.
Really?
Yeah, well, I smashed his face in with my fists. So yeah, that wasn't a nice fight, but it went on for a bit. But yeah, he was on the floor with the compass in his hand, in a terrible way. Yeah, I actually didn't know I was being stabbed until I felt the blood on my head and thought, wow, how the hell's the blood? And there was just little holes in my head, side of my head, but it was no big deal. It's a compass. It is what it is.
Street fight, school with a compass. I love it.
It's one of them things, mate. It's life.
Proper aggro that is at school. What school was that?
I was in a school called Chilwell Compet. It is still there, yeah. It is. Yeah.
School I went to, Gedling Comp's gone now. I was in Newark as well.
I just, you know what? I just think it's so sad with some of the schools these days. I don't think there's enough for the kids to do. I lived in youth clubs growing up. I finished school. You know, I didn't really give boxing everything I had until I was 15. Till I was just before I got expelled from school. My last 6 months in school, I was concentrating a bit more on boxing. But when I got expelled, that's when I focused everything on boxing.
What did you get expelled for?
That incident.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Self-defence, wasn't it? Or did you start it?
I definitely didn't start it, but I finished it.
I'm glad to hear it.
It was all right.
Right, round number 11, my friend, nearly there. It's been interesting. It's been a great chat. I love chatting to you. Listen, I'd like to do a long version podcast, sit down for 2-3 hours.
We will sit down, mate, definitely.
Go into depth.
We'll get a chance.
Right, number 11. Ding, ding, round 11. Who should Anthony Joshua fight next? Do you think he fights again? I'm not sure he even fights again. Let's say he fights again. Who does he fight? And we talked about it earlier.
He does fight again, yes. And who should he fight, or who do I think he'll fight?
Who should he fight?
I don't know who he's going to fight, so that's the answer to that one. Who do I think he should fight?
Sure.
It's a good question. Do you know what?
Well,
I'd like to see that Jarrell Miller thing get ran back.
not really.
Just right now. Only for that. I mean, if I'm talking if we're going to see him back, the Martin Bakole fight in Africa is brilliant. That's a big fight, but it's a dangerous fight too, by the way. I like the winner of Parker and Dubois. Ultimately, I want to see him face Tyson Fury. But if the Fury, I want to see him face Tyson Fury. That's my answer. Yeah. But if Tyson Fury stays retired, then I want to see a spectacle. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to see, I want to see a spectacle. I want to see something that's going to excite, or I want to see a big build up to something. Or I want more than the actual fight if it's not Tyson Fury, if that makes sense.
Do you think he'd fight Bakole? It's a dangerous fight, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, Bakole's the sparring king of the world, isn't he? He's beat everybody up in sparring. He's handed everyone their asses in sparring. I just think he forgets that when you get 10-ounce gloves on and no white guards on, shit gets real. We all know it's completely different with 10-ounce gloves on. And I've heard all these sparring stories, and I've heard them referring to what he's done to this fella in camp, what he's done to that fella in camp, how this fella knows, mate, it's sparring. They've hired you and got you in as the sparring partner. That's what you are. So I just think it's wrong the way these sparring stories are leaked. What you've told everyone, I denied that for years, and people come and I just don't believe them things should. What happens in the gym stays in the gym, and we both know,
absolutely.
Carl, we should. You can turn up at the gym someday. Mate, I've been absolutely pasted by fellas who were English champions because I've turned up some days and I'm tired and I'm drained. I've paid fellas $1,000 to knock fuck out of me, and you just like. I wasn't at it today, I wasn't on it, but you have to understand when you become a world champion, everyone who turns up at the gym wants to knock fuck out of you. It's their world title fight.
Absolutely.
So when Martin Bakole was turning up to Anthony Joshua in Sheffield, this was his chance to show everyone how good he was. This was just another sparring day to Anthony Joshua. Yeah. It's just another guy who's come in, who's got to pay money to and beat up. And that's why I say to people, sparring means absolutely nothing. All that matters is what happens under the lights on fight night. Because that's what goes on your record, not the sparring fights, not the sparring stories. No one gives a shit. the fight under the lights are what counts. So if Anthony Joshua's going to fight again, I want to see him face Tyson Fury. And if it's not Tyson Fury, then I want to see a spectacle. And when I say spectacle, something like mad, crazy trash talk against Jarrell Miller, who I also believe should have been banned for life after what he'd done. The guy was one molecule off turning into the Hulk. But if it, as I said, one of him, he'd do nice, or Bacoli in Africa, something like that, or of that kind of magnitude.
Yeah, that sounds good, mate. That sounds very good. And myself, I think Anthony Joshua was, I think he's just waiting his time now to fight the Fury fight, to get the old Bunsen burner and get the big payday. I don't think his heart's in it anymore. I might be wrong, but...
He's entitled to it, lad. Fair play to him. Whatever they earn, they deserve. So fair play to them. Let them keep earning. As long as Turkey, His Excellency, is paying, mate, let them keep fighting.
Right, 12th and final question, mate. Short and sweet one for you. You might have to think about it for long, but how many people were in attendance when I fought George Groves, and where did it take place? Some people forget. I just want to make sure we're still refreshing it all.
80,000 people at Wembley Arena to witness that brutal knockout.
And where was it? Just say it.
Wembley Stadium, mate. It wasn't Wembley Arena, it was Wembley Stadium, the big arch.
Stadium. The biggest fight post-war. Tony, it's been a pleasure talking to you, mate. It really has.
Fuck off. Right.
Sorry to
catch up soon.
Put you on it. Is that one?
I'll see you tomorrow, you fucking maniac.
I'll tell you what, though, on a serious note, right? We laugh and joke about it, and I keep reminding people and taking the piss. But to get that kind of a crowd...
Oh, mate, it was massive.
For boxing, when not a great deal was going on. That rivalry with me and Groves, the first one, what he did, dropping me, beat him up for 6 rounds, then the referee jumping in a little bit too early and just not quite giving it the conclusive
I
finish.
hope he still sends Howard Foster a Christmas card with a couple of quid in every year, because I'm telling you now, that fella...
Howard Foster without getting pissed off. He hates it.
Are you messing?
It's out
Do
of
you know
order,
Howard, what Howard Foster done for George was one of the greatest gifts you've ever seen, because he was gone on his feet, by the way. He shouldn't have been stopped. Never should have been stopped. But I'm telling you now, 3 to 4 more punches, he's out like a light. Don't get me wrong. I had it happen to me against Oval McKenzie, and I ran it back to face him. Oval McKenzie dropped me twice. I got up. I flattened him in the 7th round. He was on his back, but he got up. He was clear-eyed at the count of 8, and the referee just waved it off. I think it was Dave Paris with me. And he waved it off, and I was like, oh, why did you've just stole me glory? I ran it back 6 months later and beat him on points. But Howard Foster gave George an absolute... Because if George gets knocked out in that fight, then that's it. It's done. And that payday and that this big massive scene that's made of it, and then future paydays that came from it.
Yeah.
So you've played a massive part in his career, as he's played in yours. The two of you are synonymous together, mate. It's just one of them things. Right, I've got to go. I've got to go and cook the tea. It's Valentine's night.
Really quickly, I've sat and spoke to George off camera when we've done these tours up and down the country, and I've said, George, do you honestly, like, even now, like, just between me and you, do you honestly think that I had no success in that first fight, and there was no way that fight should have been started? I was having no success, and the ref just jumped in and stopped it for no reason. He's like, yeah, I knocked you down in round 1. I was beating you up for 6 rounds, and you didn't even land the punch. I'm like, George, watch it back. And I've watched it back. The ref shouldn't have stopped it. There was no way I wanted to
I do agree the ref shouldn't have stopped it, but he was having success, and he was winning the fight at that stage. But, mate, he was tired. And that...
He was tired. I was catching him.
Mate, he's always got that air of vulnerability about him, and that's why the referee stopped it. The referee let you. It's like watch it. The vulnerability factor is how it goes. Some fighters have a vulnerability factor, some don't. You didn't. Arturo Gatti didn't. So when a Gatti faces Mickey Ward, look at round 9. Frank Cappuccino should have stopped that fight. He's got Arturo Gatti up against the rope with his arm like this and smacking him in the face. He's got his neck up, punched up like this, and he hits him with the right hand over the top. Frank Cappuccino lets it go because it's Arturo Gatti. You were allowed to go on, and you're steady-legged. When you get up, the referee is always going, we know he's an absolute warrior. But people had seen George hurt before. Who was it who stopped him before you? Who did he lose to? No, he didn't get stopped, but he'd been down on the floor, hadn't he? He was unbeaten.
Kenny Anderson dropped him, didn't he?
He'd
Remember
been
that
down,
spot?
and like, people just give him this tag, and he's not vulnerable. He's got a cracking chin, by the way, George Groves. He's mate. I watched him. I went away with him to Poland.
He got his chin cracked at Wembley, but yeah, go on.
He got his. I'm sure he had a broken jaw and carried on and won. I'm pretty sure he did in Poland. I went to Poland with him for England, and he I think got his jaw broken in the first round. Carried on boxing and won the fight with a broken jaw. He's got bollocks, mate. George Groves has. He's game as anything. Can bang like fuck, by the way. But I don't know where this vulnerability thing came from. But there's no doubt denying, and I just tell it as it is. I like George. George is a boss lad. I think he's a good lad. But he was tired in the fight against you. And the referee's wrong. 100% wrong. Howard Foster's always wrong for stopping it. But I'm sorry. It was only stopping the inevitable. Because that fight was only going to go one way. He tires, you don't, and it's one of them things. It's the $1 million question, mate. He's always going to say it's not going to happen and so he should. That's the fighting and that's the pride he's got. It's like you're saying I was getting stronger, Judge. I was going to knock you out, but he should be saying, well, I was only going to land another big right hand. And that's the always debate you two are always going to have. And so you should, because you believe in yourselves. You've both been world champions, maybe on different levels of the spectrum. You know, you've been a unified champion. You've travelled the globe. You've beat elite level. You've beat top fighters, mate. You know, the win over Michael Kessler, the dominance of Arthur Abraham away from home. There's multiple fights there, mate. There's so many big fights you've had. The Jermaine Taylor victory's absolutely huge. There's so many of them that you've got on your resume. George may not have all them big days and big nights on the resume, but he's still been a world champion. And I've got to give him his due, mate. He done really well. I think it was Chudinov he beat at the third or fourth attempt for the world title. And he done really well, mate. He really did. So, fair play.
Lost a close one to Bad Usyk, didn't he? But no, I love chatting to you, mate. You always give me a big ego and you big me up, and it's always nice to
it
get
shouldn't
it
be a
stroked
big fucking
bit.
ego. Your head's big enough, lad. So fuck off now. I'm going downstairs to cook me tea.
Well, listen, mate, I appreciate it. This has been another episode of Froch on Fighting. Tony Bellew, the bomber, joined me again for 12 rounds, which probably took about an hour. If you haven't already, hit subscribe to the biggest and best channel in the business, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks again, Tony. Thanks again, mate.
Keep listening. Froch on Fighting's flying.
Cheers, pal.
See you after, champ.